This week we had the first meeting of the Worldwise Book Club for International Literature, and it was a great meeting and we had a lot of interesting views on this month's book. The book we looked at was The Shape of Water by Andrea Camilleri? I'm gonna mispronounce things through these videos. I'm gonna pronounce them in an overly English way, and I'm sorry, that's just gonna be my thing, okay? This book was actually part of a series. It was the first in 23 mysteries, all about Inspector Montalbano, who was our main character. The series has been adapted into a TV series in Italy, and that series has got really popular. It's on BBC 4 at the moment. The adaptation of this book is actually really good. It takes a lot from the book. The only differences I can see in the story are a small subplot about Montalbano's father. I think that it works so well and it's had such a true adaptation because Andrea Camilleri, the author, used to work as a TV producer and a drama teacher and playwright earlier on in his life. He only turned to writing when he was about 50. And he wasn't too successful until this book.
Pronto?
L'avvocato Rizzo?
Sì, sono io.
Scusasse avvocato se la disturbo l'ora che è, ma abbiamo trovato l'ingegnere Luparello. A noi ci pare morto.
E perché lo venite a contare a me?
Ma come? Per lei non è il suo migliore amico?
Vi ringrazio, ma prima di tutto è necessario che facciate il vostro dovere. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
The police decide that Luparello has had a heart attack whilst having sex with a prostitute, but Montalbano thinks that this is too simple an answer and delves a bit deeper. He seems to find a series of clues leading to a woman called Ingrid, who Luparello may have been having an affair with. The clues seem to point to Ingrid being in the car with Luparello when he died, but the clues seem to be lining up almost too well for Montalbano, so he digs a little deeper. It turns out that Luparello was actually having an affair with his epileptic nephew, Giorgio, and he didn't die in a car, he died in his home whilst having sex with Giorgio. Giorgio is in a bit of a panic when his uncle/lover dies, and he rings Rizzio, thinking that Rizzio can help him move the body because he's worried he might have an epileptic fit if he tries to move it himself. So what Rizzio does is, instead of helping his friend Luparello, he decides that he's gonna cause a scandal and disgrace Luparello so that he himself can move further up in the political party. Once Giorgio finds out what Rizzio has done, he kills him and stages it to look like a mafia killing, which the police don't care about because mafia killings happen all the time in Sicily, apparently. After this, Giorgio disappears for 2 days and is then found along with his car after it's been driven off a cliff. We talked a lot about Camilleri's presentation of Sicilian culture in the novel. We talked a lot about the heat and how things get heated up very easily, how a lot of characters are very hot-headed, including Montalbano himself. He's aggressive, abrasive, breaks laws, hides evidence, and just does what he pleases, really, until there's food around. Whenever there's food around, all of the characters seem to stop what they're doing and pay almost a religious homage to it. Corruption and distrust play a big part in the novel as well. There's a lot of times when the average man doesn't trust anyone in power because they all seem to be corrupted, including the police, the church, the Milanese forces who are just seen as outsiders. It's all very interesting, quite stereotypical in a way, of the mafia controlling a lot of things, but there is a realism in that stereotype. As a group, we discussed a lot of other cultural touchstones in the novel, but one thing we really looked at in heavy detail was Giorgio as a character. This epileptic, incestuous nephew is really interesting. One big thing that we discussed was whether or not Luparello's wife, his aunt, knew whether Giorgio was having an affair with his uncle. We weren't quite sure of this because a lot of the time she shows a lot of affection to Giorgio. She pets him like a dog in one scene, but she also alludes to her husband having an affair in his second home and mentions that sometimes his affairs are with men. So she definitely knew that something was going on, but we weren't quite sure if she understood the gravity of the situation. Another thing we discussed involving Leporello's wife was the title of the novel, which was a really interesting part of the night, and definitely the most in-depth discussion that we had. At one point, Leporello's wife tells us of a story when she was a child, where she was talking to another child in her school who was pouring water from a cup to a glass, and he asked her, "What is the shape of water?" Which of course is the title of our novel. The shape of water could mean many things, but we really focused on the symbolism of water taking on the shape of its container, much like the information in the novel. The clues left for Montalbano seem to paint a really clear picture that Ingrid is at the center of this big conspiracy, but when he delves a little deeper, he's able to discover that the information actually takes a different shape, and that it's about a incestuous relationship between a politician and his nephew. But Montalbano himself actually removes parts of the case, and he doesn't tell his superior officers about what he's found. He decides to tell them a nicer version and leave some of the people out of it, but he sort of controls the case. He changes the shape of the case a lot. This is an idea that comes up a lot in the novel, and we all had different ideas about which was the most important shaping of information. But I think that they're all really important, and that they all come together to make the novel and the title that much more poignant. All in all, we had a great night and a great discussion, and we hope to see many more people at the next meeting discussing Sarah's Key and French literature. That's on the 9th of December in the Worldwise Centre at 3 o'clock. And yeah, come on down if you want to talk about that, if you're interested in the French language or French literature at all. If you've got any sort of interest, come down, and if you've got anything interesting to say about Montalbano or about the book club in general, comment below, and we want to really get people involved. Until next time, I'm Alfie. Bye!